All right, let's dive in. Why not? Welcome to Trust the Journey. I'm Melanie Curtis.
And I'm Jason Moletsky.
Our mission is to live, laugh, love, and learn together with you.
We're here to create conscious connections, to grow, and to contribute through our practice of openness, honesty, vulnerability, humility, and trust. Trusting the entire journey.
Yeah. Family, team, if you want to find us on the internet, go to trustthejourney.today. If you want to join us in our private Trust the Journey family group, you are always welcome. Go to the website, scroll down, donate on Patreon in any amount, and you will be welcomed into that group. We invite anyone to join us. We are happy you're just listening. If you feel inspired to share, however you're called to engage, we welcome that, and we're just grateful to have you. So, with that, just thank you all for being here, listening, and here we go.
Yeah. So how you doing?
So today we're talking about basically the value we're finding in our lives, which I kind of love that we just dove right into recording, because basically, family, Jay and I were going to record later today, and, we were just sort of I was talking about going skiing and doing some stuff, and I asked if it was better for him to record sooner, and he's like, whatever, it's cool. We just had a bit of a flexible thing, but it's kind of cool to be recording right now because we haven't talked in a while, and so I feel like we're really going to be like actually catching up on the air, you know what I mean? Which
Definitely.
Feels kind of fun. You know what I mean? We usually will catch up a little bit before the episode starts, before we start recording. And I'm almost like that we didn't do that we just kind of dove in and we're going to share it all.
That's what being vulnerable and open and honest is all about, right?
Yeah. I missed you.
Aww.
How are your last few weeks?
Gosh, I have been a busy guy for the fact. Now, when I say that, I have to acknowledge that I've been holding firm boundaries around my own self-love, healing, and recovery time.
Good.
So a lot of my time, which I say is busy, is full of things like going in the sauna, doing steam baths, stretching, going to cold plunges, like doing this work on my physical body, going hiking all the time, walking all the time, to make sure that I'm recovering from the injuries that I sustained a little while ago.
Yeah, good.
So, yeah.
It's a fascinating thing when a person, not that people need to do this per se, but when, at least for me, when I got to the point when putting blocks of time on my calendar that were just open but booked for me, and holding them, and not being like, well, I actually am free. No, I'm not available. And it's so empowering to have that. That's big. And I mentioned skiing. We just got dumped on in the Northeast, and it's so awesome. I love winter. I love the snow. I'm stoked. I'm like giddy over here looking out my window at the freaking 2.5 feet on my garage. It's like amazing. So
it's so fun.
Yeah, I've definitely been recently blocking. Yeah. You've gotten a lot of snow there?
Well, when the snow comes, it's like
awesome.
You see it on the forecast and you see it that it's coming and you're like, oh, cool. I can't wait to see how the whole environment's going to change, and the visual aesthetic of everything around us completely changes, and life changes. The way that you move and how you interact with the rest of the world changes pace. And I like that. I like seasons because they anchor us to nature, like it really takes us out of, this is what I'm going to do today, and the world, the planet that we're born of, that we are part of, says, no, here's what's happening today. It's snowing.
Yeah.
And just really getting the true value and the beauty out of it.
Totally. And just what I was saying is the blocking off of the calendar. It is that I can only do that during the winter. I can only go skiing during the winter. We mentioned this in the seasons episode when we were talking about that, but I'm doing that. if we talk about what value are you finding in your life, one of the values I'm finding is that thankfulness for the skill that I cultivated of having that boundary, of having that self-love boundary around my time. And because it's not like I don't work hard. I still work really hard. It's not anywhere close to a laziness. It's not, certainly there are some days where I feel like I don't want to do anything, where I don't really want to work. I don't want to use my brain, or my creative energy is just tapped out. So I need to rest. And not talking about that. I'm talking about, I know if I only work, which is duh, I'm going to burn out so fast. And it's why does one want to spend their life only working like that? As much as I love my work, I also know that I need balance from it as well.
Well, that's a great relation, like a segue to the whole concept of where do we find value, right? Because work is incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
We don't work as a society, as people, as a race. We don't do things for money. The people who truly do things are doing things that they love to do because it's curiosity. It's passion. You're like, oh, this is neat. I want to figure it out, or I want to figure a better way to do this. I want to create a system that's going to sustain me, support me. It's all the things that come with it. If you just work for money, then life is miserable, right?
Oh my
that's
God.
a rough thing to do. Got to work for what's curious to you, and what makes your brain say, oh, that's neat. Why am I that? Let's figure it out,
Yeah. I mean, I think some people have a different level of need for security comparatively to novelty and excitement and adventure, or they are like, for me, I felt like I developed an ability to be in novelty, to be in adventure, to be in uncertainty. But that was only because I was forced to by like high anxiety. You know what I mean? Like I really needed to cultivate that skill. But now that I have that skill, I use it. You know what I mean? I use it, and I use it in my work. I use it in my play. I use it in all kinds of ways in my life. But yeah, I mean, that's the reason I say that is I don't judge someone who does work for money because they maybe have a high value of security in this society that we live in, and they choose that very consciously, and that's fucking great. Go you. When I think of that for myself based on my values, I just know I would totally be desperately unhappy.
I've had the experience, right, where I've chosen into picking a job that's going to pay me well. That's a shit job. It's hard work. It doesn't fulfill me. It's not something I'm passionate about. And I've done it because I wanted the income associated with it so that I could support my family, so that I could take care of the values that I have in my life that do bring me value. So it's a trade-off, right? Where I'm like, okay, I'm going to give my time to do this thing that I don't really care about, that does provide me an income, so that I can have some sense of security or provide for the values that I do have in my life, which is my kids or my family or whatever circle of things that we need. It could be my pets and my animals, my farm, whatever it might be, right? Anything at all. Matil.
Oh. As soon as you said pets, animals, I'm like, Matil.
Yeah, Matil.
Speaking of value in our lives, oh man, I tell you, Matil, she has some serious like radar on when to cuddle, like on my birthday. I actually recently had a birthday. Yay. And
happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks. And on my birthday, she doesn't do this very often, but sometimes she will get up onto my chest when I'm laying in bed, like asleep, and she'll lay right across. I'm sure I've shared this on the podcast before because I love it so much. It's so amazing. She lays literally almost like suffocating me. But then she'll fall asleep and we're just like cuddling. It's wonderful. Like it is so wonderful to just share that sweet moment with this special little being. And she's just so like, and other times she completely ignores me, of course, per cat, per cats.
Like humans,
like
too,
humans,
right?
yeah, like humans. This is why I love her so much. I'm like, oh, I have so much to learn from you, my sweet Jedi, my sweet Jedi master.
So, last week I took off and went off grid for a week,
Amazing.
and it was intentional for a few reasons. One is I've had a lot on my plate with dealing with personal injury recovery, as well as managing business that is very, very busy, dealing with all the challenges of the world and growing at the same time. And so it's been quite overwhelming, and I've been unable to keep up with all the demands. So I've felt my workload and my stress load increasing, and I've recognized, like, okay, what do I need to do when things are starting to get a little bit too much? Is I actually need to stop doing so much. And this is a huge value that I've learned, is when my workload is peaked, one of the best things I can do is unplug for a few days, take a little time to recharge the batteries, so that when I do sit back down to go to work, that I'm going to do it effectively, and I'm actually going to be able to execute the things that I need to do with a clear mind, and they're going to get done really efficiently. I'm going to enjoy doing them, and even if they're hard, I'm going to be up for the challenge. So what I do, and this is just checking in, I literally unplug. I send all my key people, I'm off the grid for the next 5 days. Don't expect an answer to an email. Don't expect an answer to a phone call. Like, literally, I'm turning my phone off.
Nice.
So I'm going to spend time with whoever I'm with in my close environment, or being in the environment I'm in outside in nature. And I'm just going to unplug, and I'm not going to check my email. I am not going to check my messages. I'm going to stay completely off of social media, unless I want to share a photograph that I've taken on my trip to kind of just say, here's where I'm at right now. I'm unavailable because I'm on this mountainside somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's so good, because I come back from a few days of just not having the standard load of things that I need to get done.
Yep.
All I need to do is be where I am and enjoy who I'm with and the place where I'm at, and take in the snowflakes, and just be there. Yeah. It's so good.
I love that you brought this up, because I've said this in the last 2 weeks. It's become much more clear to me that I need a vacation. Like, I haven't taken a vacation, because I can do whatever I want whenever I want. And I say that not as a brag. I say that as, like, that's just my lifestyle. And the business that I've built has a lot of freedom by design. You know what I mean? Like, I just did it that way. Go ahead.
Did you just say, I do what I want?
I know, exactly. I do what I want.
I do what I want.
But it's so funny. It's so simple, but it's so true. Like, my whole business, like, plan from the very beginning of my life coaching business was, I want to be able to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want to do it. And that was it. That was pretty much it. And that is what I live now. And I have that. I've created that, and I'm very proud of it. I'm very grateful for it. And I sometimes don't use it in its, like, full possibility. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I'll get into my ruts of working in this way, or I'll have, whatever I have that's going on that, again, I like doing because I love my work and yada yada. But I've realized recently, and this is part of my COVID fatigue, because I've been feeling a lot of COVID fatigue in recent weeks as well, where I'm a little bit more tired. I have less bandwidth for my creative mind, for my thinking mind. Like, I need more time off. I need more time apart from that thinking mind. And that's starting to inform me, oh, okay, it's because I haven't really unplugged. I haven't really taken a vacation, quote unquote, for a long time, for multiple years. And so it's the last time I think I took a vacation was my 40th birthday, when I went to Iceland, which was great, which was totally great. But, like, I'm now 43. And so it's like, I'm ready for a bigger break.
So when you say vacation, you mean, like, not skydiving?
No, I mean no work. No work,
No
something
worries.
entirely for me, disconnected from social media, basically what you described.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that we put a pin in that
Yeah.
because it's very easy to confuse some of our hobbies and our pastimes, our recreations
Yeah.
with taking a break,
Right.
right? And they're very different, you know? Like I know that if I go and jump on my dirt bike and go rip around on my dirt bike, or if I go paddling, or if I go jumping, or any of these things that I do for recreation, they're great for recharging in the short term, but they're not true breakaways. I'm
Yeah.
only out for a short time. It's not like I'm getting that multiple days of just unplugging the whole from the matrix
Yep.
and just letting the brain move to a different pace, waking up with the sun, going to bed with the sun. You know, I
Yeah.
really like, for me, that finding that rhythm and plugging into, I keep saying it over and over again because it is such a huge value.
Yeah.
And that is connecting with nature.
Mm-hmm.
It is getting outside. And I had a great day. What was it? I had a multiple wow day recently where it was just, oh yeah, I remember I went hiking and it was just one of these times where every time you walk like 50 steps and you turn around and go, wow. And
Right.
you pull up your phone, take a picture, and then you walk another 50 steps and go, wow.
Yeah.
Right? And take a picture, walk 50 steps, say, wow.
Oh my God, it
And
can't possibly get more beautiful, and yet it does.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like getting an IV of awesomeness that you can then leave with, that's totally fuels the soul to be like, wow, I feel so good now. I went outside and I saw this beautiful, amazing scenery that just fills me with passion and love and joy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why one of the reasons, and yeah, like skiing is not the same thing as unplugging, but it's something that I look forward to so much. And the snow is something I look forward to so much. Even right before this call, this episode, I was outside shoveling and I was stoked because I wasn't sure if the guy, that was going to come and plow our driveway out, I wasn't sure when he was going to come. And so I was like, yeah, Sarah and I were like, let's get out there, do some extra exercise. We can shovel. We wanted to just kind of play in the snow. And it was fun. And it was one of those shorter term refuels and recharges. But yeah, it's so easy for me just to be able to stay in my house because I always have so much I can do. I don't have to go anywhere. It's like it has to be self-motivated for me to leave my house at this time in life. And not that I don't find motivation to leave my house, I do, but I've also noticed in recent weeks where I've been into one of those zones where I've been really focused on indoor things. Like I finished the Audible book. We're doing a re-edit of our graphic memoir, which was a lot of new writing for me. So it's like that type of stuff. I have to sit for a long time at a laptop.
Well, it's wintertime, wintertime is inherently, for millennia in our DNA, we're programmed that this is going to be the time of year, if we live in the Northern Hemisphere, where we go inside more and we spend more of our time sheltered and doing a lot of those longer term projects. You don't have to go very far back in our own history as a species to see that during the winter is when most of the intricate work gets done, where you have time to sit down and build something that you're then going to put into practice or use in the summer season. So I look forward to the winters. For years, they've been a huge value to me because I thought of it as the time where I'm going to get to rest a little more. And the nights are longer, right? So the nights are longer. So traditionally, you get more sedentary time where you're settling down, and even if it's with a book or with a laptop or whatever, but you're quieter, and there's more time available to sleep. I don't feel the pull to get out of bed in the morning because the sun's not up yet,
Right.
And I think that's a big thing for us.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah, I find huge value in that. it's not a problem per se. It's more like noticing. And if I talk about value in my life, I'm grateful for that observant observer part of me too, that can simply take in what my experience is, can simply take in what I'm doing, take in what I'm feeling, take in what I'm thinking, and really be that observer of my life experience as a way to make informed decisions. So yeah, it's over the last weeks, like noticing this thing about the idea of taking a vacation. And I've been thinking about going on a retreat for myself longer than the last few weeks. So now when I have this new feeling, and this is sort of a nuanced distinction of my observing of my own self and thoughts and feelings, is I've been ready for a retreat, wanting to do a retreat, more like in nature, time alone, disconnected, journaling, not high activity. And then with I need a vacation, it feels more like pressure to take action on that. You know what I mean? In a good way. It's a motivating action and a motivating observation for me to go, cool, if I persist and I continue to feel this for too long, if I don't take care of myself in a different way than I have been, then I could see myself having a bigger sort of breakdown, needing more rest, or failing or flailing in my work in some way that would not be cool with me, something like that, when I don't get the kind of rest and recovery that I need. So yeah, like I see value in that type of stuff. Being able to even just observe myself is a high value to me.
So you're touching on something that has just been, I feel it like right in my heart of like, oh my God, this has been so good for me as far as hitting a value, and that self-observation skill. Yesterday, day before, a couple days ago, I had this little bit of a fit where I suddenly hated my life and was feeling like I'm flailing, and I started having all these self-doubts, and like, and we all have this. We all have this moment of like, I'm like, what? So I started like doubting where I'm at with my relationship with people that are close to me, and saying, oh, is this right? Is this wrong? Is there somebody thinking something? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? What am I doing with my work? Am I falling behind? What am I doing with my life? Oh shit.
Right.
I just kind of, it's all imploding. I hate myself. Blah, 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 blah. Like the whole snowball just started kicking off, and I was able to hear my own thoughts from an objective viewpoint, and I have to attribute the ability to notice that to the practice that I've been doing in meditation, and being able to hear all this noise in my own head and go, wait a second, no. All this noise isn't really what's happening right now. This is all thoughts that are happening, but this isn't really where I'm at in my life. And I'm like, wait a second, my work is going great. I have stuff that needs me, that pressure that's on, but I'm happy with that. My relationships are fantastic. My life choices are right on point. And I go to my list and I'm like, none of the things that I'm hearing myself tell myself right now are aligning with the realities that I know that are there when I wake up the next day.
Yeah.
And so I was able to objectively pull myself out of this snowball of despair, which I don't even know what kicked it off, whether it was diet or hormone or fatigue or pain or something just kicked off this series of thoughts. It could be recurring depression. It could be anything at all, right?
Yep.
But I have to say, thank God, thank me for doing the work to learn to meditate and using the Sam Harris Waking Up app literally every day for the last 2 years, and being able to objectively go, wait a second, I'm not riding this downhill freight train into a hellhole where I suddenly feel like I need to get a drink or I need to get upset and do something self-destructive. Like, pulling myself out of that experience, I can completely say the reason I was able to be objective and be self-aware is due to that meditation practice and learning how to hear my thoughts occurring rather than just feeling my thoughts occurring and getting tangled up in the emotional experience.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Good for you. That's a
Yay.
huge win. Yeah.
Yay.
Woo! It's a huge win. It really is. I mean, oh, it's fascinating. I can't not go back to ceremony where the observer helped me surrender in ceremony too, and helped me really release in a way that I could connect and receive the insights that I've received. It was very hard at first, very scary to release, to surrender. And yeah, the observer frame was what made that possible for me. And I'm grateful for that. And yeah, talk about integration from ceremony, from any kind of healing learning that we do. It's the rubber meets the road in regular life. You know what I mean? And so it's like we talk about, we're trusting the journey. We're here catching up. We're here trying to create we talk about stuff that's of value to hopefully those listening and to us here in this conversation. And sometimes it looks like, well, I've been sitting at my computer for 5 days and, sometimes it's just that boring as fuck sedentary stuff, that is quote unquote regular life. A lot of times it's not I'm going skiing down the mountain. A lot of times it's what am I choosing out of the refrigerator? And what am I choosing out of the cabinet, if anything? That type of stuff that's been a major challenge for me. And I have to say this, I've tried that new Noom app. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I used it for a long time.
You
when
did?
I was doing some focused weight loss to
cool.
change my structure. It was about 2 years ago. I used it for about 3-4 months.
Yeah. I had never heard of it before until recently. And I love psychology, obviously, with my life coaching work and all the stuff that we talk about. But I have definitely gained, 14 pounds or whatever was my max that I gained in COVID. Yeah, fuck yeah, booyah. Talk about leggings every day. So it's not a problem. I still feel sexy. I still feel strong. I still feel good about myself. And I want my clothes to fit, and I want to be where I normally am. And nothing I was doing was actually working sustainably in these COVID times. And so I said, I keep seeing these ads and I'm like, yep, I felt they targeted the right person because I'm like, yeah, I am a psychology buff and I've never tried something like this. I already log my food on Lose It app. I've done that for over 10 years and that's always worked for me. And I was struggling to feel motivated to do that. So I'm like, well, maybe I can use this new app and see what it's about. And if it's any good, it's something I can share with my clients or whatever. And hopefully it works for me. But I'm only a week and a half into it, but I'm really liking it. I'm really enjoying it. It's engaging me in a different way. And it's helping me see and learn more specifically where my breakdowns come in around hunger and tiredness, the connection to those. And this is just me specifically. So everyone whomever does it, you'd find your own stuff. But for me, I can get very hungry and I get triggered. When I feel hungry, there's something around that where I'm like, I gotta have food. I freak out almost. You know what I mean? And that's magnified when I'm tired. And anyway, these are not things I'm unaware of, but I'm magnifying that awareness in a more nuanced way. And I'm finding high value in that.
Have you ever done any fasting, whether it's intermittent fasting or full fasting, like multi-day fasting?
I have. I did a project. I did a juice fast. I actually blogged about it. This is over 10 years ago. Yeah, I blogged about it. But that's the only thing I've ever done. I haven't really done any significant fasting. I've done some intermittent fasting where I eat later in the day. I'll wait to eat. I'll stop eating by 8 p.m. and then I won't eat until 10 or 11. but I didn't really follow through on that too much. I was like, I'll try it for a week. But yeah.
So, I've found that intermittent fasting has been really powerful for me hold on, I was looking for this app. It's been excellent in helping to change that weight loss. Like if your diet hasn't changed, but your body's makeup has started to change, whether it's because of different activity level or different age, whatever it is that's veering, the intermittent fasting using the app to drive that has been really powerful. And the other one is I've done a lot of different cleanses, right? Like taking multi-day, multi-week cleanses, doing things like master cleanse or juice cleanses. But doing some studying and learning about full water fasting and doing multi-day water fasts. I mean, just the topic of hunger and self-awareness, these two things just kind of like synergistically came into the same topic. Where you're like, I want to talk about self-awareness and feeling these fatigues and feeling all this body stuff, but being able to know why you're doing it and what the value is and doing it intentionally. The process of fasting can be really, really powerful for what it does for our body physically, for the processes that start to engage, and for the strength of mind that comes out of it. Because there's a huge challenge to sitting with the feeling of hunger.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. That's totally what I'm working on right now, is that. And I'm not highly skilled at it yet.
So there's this massive difference between hunger and eating for comfort.
Yes, for sure.
Right? Like I eat for comfort all the time.
For sure.
All the time. I'd say 80% of the time that I go to the cupboard or the fridge or wherever, I'm going to eat something because it's going to give me a feeling, not because I'm truly in a calorie deficit situation that requires food to meet the calorie output for my day.
Totally.
This is not the case. You know?
I know. That's why I like having this. I love having accountability around a certain amount of calories per day, which sounds so restrictive and whatever. I actually like that. It makes me feel empowered, feeling like I have awareness and knowledge of what's occurring. Even if I choose to eat more than my allowance, that's okay. But when I'm really committed to something like that, I like to achieve those days. So that helps me. I've learned over the years that is a positive motivator, positive reinforcement for me. And so, like opening the refrigerator, like I said earlier, is a thing, feeling the hunger, recognizing these small micro moments where I formerly would have made a choice that was not in alignment with where I want to go, which is some hot photo shoot in my skinny jeans. Fuck yeah, watch out post-COVID. I'm excited for that. You know me and my New York City photo shoots. I'm very excited about this one. I totally have it. And I'm visualizing it, right? Like I know I'll get there. Like I'm super calm about that. Like there's some part of me that even though this process has felt challenging to me inside COVID, like the idea of losing the weight that I've gained and getting my body back into a shape that is more typical for me. Even with that feeling challenging, there's no part of me that thinks I can't do it. Like that is, so we talk about where are we finding value in our lives. That's another thing that totally sticks out where I'm like, okay, I went up a pound when I weighed in this morning. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that doesn't even make me feel bad because I'm like, I know I'm on the right track, if that makes sense. Because I'm learning.
And that's a total reflection of what I was just touching on for myself there, right? The concept like, oh, okay, I'm aware of what's happening here. How am I choosing to respond to it? So like what I was talking about earlier, when I found myself in this kind of mental snowball rolling down the hill, how I chose to react to it is I pick up the phone, I send my therapist a message, I say, we should probably talk soon. I'm having a hard time. I go outside, I go for a walk. I cut back on my what I'm eating.
Mm.
And I changed my sugar intake and say, wait a second, I'm taking in too many comfort foods. I need to just pull back on the calories a little bit and start to like touch in on all these points, you know, get some exercise, go outside, call a support structure.
Yep.
And then talk to somebody, and then
Mm-hmm.
actually go and say, hey, I'm having this I just had this horrible feeling where
Mm-hmm.
you know, and leaning into all those coping mechanisms, right?
Mm-hmm.
I consider they're coping mechanisms. I don't think that's a very
support system.
Yeah, support systems is a better description, because coping mechanism is like eating a candy bar.
Yeah, it has
right?
a negative connotation. Yeah, but
Yeah.
doesn't always need to be perceived negatively. But yeah, I hear you.
Mm. Yeah, and you know, the other thing is taking some time alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to touch on this as a value. One of the things that I really recognize for myself, and you know, some of us aren't very comfortable being alone. There's a lot inside of our own heads, you know, and one of the things I've learned from my time in the psychedelic field is a lot of us are terrified of what's inside of our own heads.
Oh my
because
God.
when we're going to sit down with a psychedelic, the only thing we're sitting down with is what's inside of our own heads already. Nothing new is going to suddenly appear in our mind, you know. We're only sitting down with ourselves. And I've looked at some of my best friends, people who I care about deeply, and they're like, I am so scared right now because I'm going to literally just be alone with myself and look in the mirror.
Oh,
you know?
so
Look
scary.
at Melanie. She's just like,
just
oh,
like,
God.
oh my God, it's terrifying. It's terrifying every time. Every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just what's inside of our own head, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it can be terrifying to just be alone.
Yeah.
And without diving into a really eyes open, kind of heart open space where we're like, oh, I'm actually looking at my deeper self. Just sitting alone and not having the noise of television or the noise of my phone on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? Just shutting off the noise and just being alone and just being quiet and having that time to just be is such a huge value. Learning how to be okay without having to fill the space with noise.
Yep. True. 100% true. It is a thing to get truly comfortable being with yourself. That has been critically important to me to level up in literally every area of my life. Literally every area. It might seem totally indirectly related to work, for example. Like, oh, how does that apply to work? But it applies to work in the sense that, like, if any part of me is like, I need to be something, or I need to be approved of, or I need to be perfect, or I need to be, or I don't know if I'm good enough, if that gremlin thought, that deeper seated self-defeating voice that most of us develop in our younger years based on whatever we might experience as young people and had traumas we face and stuff like that. But even just regular living, young child minds don't know how to process the world. So we might receive our mom taking our plate of spaghetti away from us as some meaning of we're not good enough for whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it could be something as simple as that. Like, who knows where this stuff is derived? We can often find it, but a lot of times it's there for people, for everyone. In my experience in this work that I do, life coaching, it's there for everyone. And the people I've talked to around psychedelic healing, everyone. And so that's why I call it, to those listening, I say that so much, because if you're listening and going, but I think this, or I feel this, and it's like everybody has that stuff. Anyway, I'm sort of rambling, but when I was like, I am safe alone, I am safe. And I don't mean that as I want to be disconnected. I mean that as a way to actually connect as a real person who's not afraid of being disconnected, because I don't believe that. I know we've talked about this before, but that core confidence has allowed me to show up in workplace engagements at such a higher level. It's allowed me to show up in all realms of my life and relationship in such a calmer, just more authentic, which sounds silly, just really genuinely peaceful way. And speak my mind and hold my ground and share my standards and feel okay and not afraid to do that, when historically that would have been really terrifying to me. But that's before I was actually content to be with myself.
You just hit the nail on the head there, that the work that we do to better learn ourselves and to become more self-aware, it affects us in a positive way in every aspect of our life. So here's the thing, right? This is the part that I find the most inspiring, is when we truly prioritize doing deep work on ourselves. If I say, no, I'm not available for this family event or this business obligation or this friend's ask or whatever it might be. When I say, no, I'm not available for this stuff because I need time alone, I need to meditate, I need to exercise, I need to go off grid, I need to go to this ceremony, I need to go to this therapy, I need to go to this friends group of, a sharing group, whatever it might be. When I look at all these support systems, when I invest all my time in those areas, I come back to my other values, the things that are important to me, at a higher value. I am able to contribute, and if I'm able to contribute, it means I'm also able to receive at a higher level.
Absolutely.
So this is the whole thing where we forget, where we get lulled into this idea that, no, I need to stay here and grind on this so that I can get this thing done. But we forget that, no. If we have more balance and we put more work in here, I get better at being able to be present, recognize the true value, listen better, receive, not respond, right? Just receive, consider, offer feedback, offer perspective, be involved at a higher level with that work supporting that involvement and that true value. So I'm such a huge advocate. I think that's the whole basis for this podcast.
Yeah.
I really do. I feel like that's where we're anchored in, is this continual reinforcement and reminder to ourselves and to everybody that taking the time and spending it on ourselves truly lets us be a contributor at a higher value in every single aspect of our lives. And that's for our kids, that's for our spouses, that's for our workplace, it's for our mothers and fathers, it's for our families, it's for any person that we run into.
Yep.
Everything that we do a better job of it when we do a better job of caring about number one. If I don't care about me, I can't care about you.
Number one. I love that. I don't know why that struck me as really funny, but it's so true. I mean, I also love, Jay, that you brought up being able to receive. Like, really being able to receive. One of the things that Brene always talks about is how joy is one of the most vulnerable emotions, if not the most vulnerable. So like there's this thing that when we really allow ourselves to receive, when we really allow ourselves to feel joy and to feel all of all the wonderful things that life can allow us to feel, there's a thing that with fear will sneak back in, and it's called foreboding joy, where it's like as soon as we feel joy, we'll be afraid of losing it. So if we do the work to be okay with the simplicity of ourselves alone, which can sound very depressing as a superficial concept, but when we connect to it as a spiritual foundation, it allows everything else to be possible. And it's a huge deal. But this idea of this as a spiritual concept, I have been reading. This is not new to me, but it's been reinforced in a recent book I've been reading by Osho, and I'm forgetting the title, but it's about aloneness. basically. So it's learning more. I've been learning more recently about the broader concept and the spiritual underpinnings of aloneness. And it's really empowering. It's really empowering because I used to think aloneness was so depressing. Was like, what? I can't have people in my life. I can't have love. I can't have connection. I can't have whatever. Like that was my very superficial look at aloneness. But when I look at it as a spiritual underpinning, it's like, oh, it makes me able to connect deeply. It makes me able to receive joy and be okay when and if it goes away. Right? This being okay with the transient nature of feelings, of emotions, and how those things are guaranteed to ebb and flow. So yeah, it's been a big deal. That's been a big value in my recent life, actually, is that particular exploration of concept.
Exploration of concept, how so?
Of aloneness.
Yeah.
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 Reading about it, thinking about it being in practice of it in my life. All kinds of different ways of sort of integrating that for me.
It's interesting there is, I was married for almost 15 years and separated and found myself needing to just be alone. Like, even though I was in a beautiful, loving relationship that just has so much value, I couldn't get to a place inside myself that had enough room to think and to just be and to just feel who I am and what I'm happy with and what I'm not happy with. Like, there's just too much exterior influence, too much noise to actually hear the subtleties inside of myself. Mm-hmm. And so I found myself, even though I have these wonderful relationships that I'm just cherish so deeply that I really want to continue to uphold and to maintain with, a full investment, I couldn't do that at the capacity that I wanted to do that at because I couldn't hear my own inner voice that's saying, hey, please pay attention to me. You're unhappy because of this. Mm-hmm. You're unhappy because of this. You're not paying attention to this part of yourself. Mm-hmm. And I really had to spend quite a bit of time just being alone to actually be able to go, oh, okay. I'm starting to sort it out now. Here's where the things are coming from. Here they are.
That's good. It's brave to do that. It's
scary.
Brave. It's so scary because you feel like you're going to hurt the person. You feel like you're going to be lonely and feel all these awful emotions. You'll feel like you're making a mistake. Like you fear what you'll find in your own head. Like all the things that we said earlier. It's totally scary. That's why I say it's so brave and I acknowledge it.
And it's not about the other person, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's the thing. And it's so easily misconstrued.
No, it's definitely not.
If you have a work relationship or a family relationship or, a spouse or kids or whatever, and you're like, I just need time to be alone, it's very often going to get taken as I need time away from you.
Right.
Specifically pointed at another person.
Right.
And there's a big difference between it being about them and it being about you. Mm-hmm. If you're failing to hold a boundary for yourself, it's about you. Mm-hmm. If you're letting somebody else's life overlap yours in a way where you can't hear what your needs are anymore, then you're failing to hold your own boundary, or we are failing to hold our own boundary. And therefore, it's about us. So it's always about us. It's never about anybody else. And this is like, thank Buddha for the freaking realization that there's nobody in my life that's a problem except me.
Ain't it the truth? Preach!
Oh, yeah.
Preach there, Maletsky.
There's only one person who ever gives me real issues, and that's me. I'm
going to try and fuck with you now. Just see. Just kidding. I love you.
I have let people get under my skin. Like, I've perceived that people were a real problem. And then when later on I look back at it and I'm like, I had the problem the whole time. The other person's like, I think that guy has a problem with me. Like, yeah, I do. You're the problem.
It's so funny.
Oh my God.
Oh, my friend, is there anything else that you're just burning to share about your recent life that's of value to you? Obviously, there's always a million things we could share.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I didn't talk about yet was sleep. The value of sleep. Oh my gosh. I'm a guy who has spent a lot of nights awake. Like I am a night owl. I also like to have a good time and go out
Mm-hmm.
and stay up all night dancing and have adventures and travel the world on red eyes and trains and planes and
Yep.
automobiles. And there's just a million reasons why I could stay up all night trying to change the world or diving into some research topic or whatever it might be,
Right.
and losing out on sleep. And what I've really come to realize is, oh my God, sleep is so important. And I think I hear Tim Ferriss comment on it in one of his ads on the beginning of his podcast. He's like, what I've come to realize through all my research in my life so far is that the number one variable in my own productivity and value of life is sleep.
It's huge. It's huge for me. Going back to the hunger thing, if I don't sleep, I am ravenous the next day. It is so much harder for me. I've been in like the tech like kick lately for some reason, but I'm using the Aura Ring now, which
cool.
I learned from my friend Pam, who has this portal coaching app and community. She's amazing as well. She's like on the leading edge of like biohacking and stuff like that. But I learned about this from her, and it took me about a year to get one of my own. But I need to learn about the other data that it tracks and stuff. I actually don't use it for anything right now other than the sleep and the steps, but I'm fascinated by watching my sleep. And it's so notable when I get less than a certain amount that I am just, my brain functions more poorly. I'm more hungry. I can't go as long. It's notable.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You know, the whole biohacking topic is, it's really, so I want to kind of touch on something really quick, is that I've been hearing this, it's been kind of in my everyday in the last few days. So it's really something I'm curious and playing with, and it's fun. And the word tech gets thrown around a lot as if it's something new.
Right.
And it's only because it's been in reference to electronic digital devices, right? And digital devices is not tech. Tech is any system that we use to improve upon a system we were previously using.
Yeah.
Right? It's the advancement of a system and the development of a system to economize our own energy, learn more, develop better understanding of, value out of, right? So it's how do we extract value as we develop a technology. A technology is a knitted shirt, a sweater. That's a technology, is knitting, right?
Yeah.
So we think of it, technology, as like my mobile phone, but really technology is any system we put in place to better utilize some material at hand so that we can receive more value out of it.
Yeah. And it's an axe made out of a stone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's anything at all. And so the whole concept that, people are like, I don't like tech. You're like, do you have a blanket on your bed? Then you have a
Right.
technology.
Do you have a house?
Yeah. You
A
use a
place where
knife
you
to
live?
cut your apple.
A
right?
roof?
Like, all those things.
Yeah.
So I don't really like this. There's this aversion to technology, and especially I see an energy in the world where people struggle with the concept of technology taking over the world, where really that's not what's happening at all. What is happening is that people are looking to escape their lives, and they don't want to sit with themselves because they don't like the feelings that come up, the emotions that come up, because they haven't taken the time to sit and learn what these things are and become comfortable with them, and or learn the management systems, coping mechanisms, support systems to be able to process these things. So I don't see technology as a threat in any way. I see our lack of self-awareness as one, And so I just wanted to bring it back to that concept. Yeah.
Agreed.
There's a couple, I wanted to give the name of that app from earlier, and it's called Zero. Yeah. The app is Zero, Zero. and it is the
What is
intermittent
that?
fasting.
Oh, the intermittent
App.
fasting app. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned a bunch of apps today.
Yeah. And so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to touch back on this topic is like,
Yeah.
we keep talking about, how do we get more value? It's because we develop systems to become better at doing the things that we need to do to have full, healthy lives. So if I can use apps or use systems, if I can make a grocery list instead of having to remember all the groceries that I have to buy, then I'm using a system to better improve efficiency in my life so I don't have to spend all my time thinking about what groceries I need to remember to get. What was I trying to remember? I write it down, whether it's on paper or whether it's in an app, it makes no difference. But utilizing systems to improve how we spend our time so that we can still do the things that we want to do in our lives, check the boxes that are important to us because they are values to us, and still have the time to include those big blocks of time that we say we don't have, which are for me.
Yeah.
So that I can do a better job of finding peace, of taking time away, of working on my creative project. So it's this big circle, right?
Yeah.
And I really just wanted to emphasize that it is a two-pronged approach where we learn systems to better improve the way that we move through this world, this thing called life. We develop ways to navigate that are going to help us to do it most efficiently. And we take advantage of whichever ones we can help and we share them with each other. And that's what we're doing here is we're like, hey, here's some ways to better navigate this crazy thing that's going on that we're all part of that nobody knows the answer to, right?
Exactly.
So but here's some ways that we can get through it without it, make it a little less painful or a little less suffering or more joyful, right? So we're biohacking the whole thing.
This thing that we're in all together that nobody knows what the fuck they're doing ever.
I love it. I love it.
It's so awesome.
I'm going to pin this with two final statements.
Do it.
And I had this wonderful experience a while ago, and I'll just keep reinforcing this. I was at an ayahuasca ceremony, and it had just finished. We were leaving. We were heading back to the airport, I think. And we were chatting and driving in the car, and I'm like, man, I just feel like we're cheating. We're hacking the system to have a better, it's like we're getting outside of being in the machine and learning how to run it and how to fix it and how to work it from the other side so that you're actually not in the world of Oz, you're Oz, And this is like, wow, this is cool. We're hacking the system. It's super fun to find our way outside of this thing that we just don't know what's going on. It's like you do know what's going on, and you can have that perspective. And that value has been infinite value. I just kind of push it right up to the top of the list and continue to remind. Yeah,
immeasurable.
Yeah.
It absolutely impossible to measure. The ripple of all of that is... Yeah, let's talk about that for another hour next time we talk.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you so much, my friend. I'm so happy to see you. I'm glad that we have systems in place that allowed us to just jump on today and go for it. That is also really cool. We're like, yeah, let's talk now. Let's do it. I love that. Yeah. I really love that we could do that today. Not just because I want to go skiing, but just because it feels very organic and natural. And I'm just grateful for today and the snow and every one of you listening.
And I really like your shirt today.
Thanks. Yeah, it's my ski turtleneck.
It.
I'm shoveling in my space cat leggings. Turtleneck.
Awesome.
All right, friends. Well, we love you. The usual, join us in the Trust the Journey family anytime you want. Go to the website or find us on Instagram, trustthejourney.today. But ultimately... it's just the straight up truth of keep laughing, keep loving, and keep trusting the journey.
We love you.